And the more we're going to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all we're going to do is we're going to increase it and increase it. It is shaitan's deception that shaitan makes us feel that never mind, you've got a desire, just do it once. Do it once, and after that once it will become, you won't feel the desire to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that isn't the case. A fire is burning, the more wood you're going to put to it, it's not going to extinguish it, it's going to increase it more. The fire, when it is extinguishing, it will want and it will cry for wood. And if you say, I feel sorry for this fire, let me just give it one piece of wood, that's not going to do the job. What it's going to do, it's going to inflame it more. And that is the way the heart is. When the heart is inclined towards the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time we feel, let me just do the act once, and then after that I shall make tawbah and stop from it. But what we're doing is we're just making it worse and worse. The disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not extinguish the desire to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just if a person has some impurity on them, then if they take a jug full of urine and think that let me wash it off with that urine, you will not be able to purify yourself with it, but rather you mess yourself more. So it is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once we start tasting the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you will find we won't enjoy any of the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So imagine, for example, that you need something, a patch or something, which helps you to stay away from whatever addiction a person has. In the same way, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save us all from all the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the unique thing is that a patch is just temporarily. Once you've stopped, then you take that off, unless you get addicted to that. Now you have to invent something that will take you off that as well. Anyhow, this patch is something that is temporary, just put it off and throw it away. But the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't be temporary. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once it becomes embedded in the heart, it is something that will remain there forever. It is for that reason that you find that we have such forms of majalis and programs, and it is for that reason that we have the Mashayikh Izam who we can go to. And we go to them to learn the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because remember, everybody has a desire that we want to acquire the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But remember, we can't acquire the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by merely reading any books. We can't just learn the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by just listening to various lectures from people. The only way we can learn the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be in the company of those people who have the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person goes in their company, then only will they learn the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khud diwana ban ke karenge khal ko diwana hum barsare mimbar sunange tera afsana. If a person becomes a diwana of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person has the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something, my dear friends, that it is something that it passes on. Shaykh Al-Raqadu mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't just make a person a wali, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even grants him wali status. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even enables him to pass that love on to other people. Whereas in this world, if a person has a secret, or if a person has something that is valuable, they will conceal that and they won't want to pass that on to other individuals. But the awliya are such, my dear friends, that they have the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the mission, the life mission is to pass that on to other people. And you'll find this has been the mission of our Shaykh Dawud Rakatuhu. And Hazrat, wherever in the past when Hazrat was healthy, wherever he went and wherever he traveled, Hazrat's mission has always been this one, to pass on to everybody else the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Hazrat Al-Rakatuhu mentioned as well that the awliya as such, that they have looted the pleasures of both the world. And Hazrat mentions to be lootlo. He mentions was lootlo. And over I mentioned that when we are very fortunate. We are very, very fortunate that we have a shaykh of the caliber of our Hazrat Dawud Barakatuhu. And not only that, but we have such a personality around us in our midst, who is so easily and so openly showing us that the direction to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are very fortunate. But it is our neglect, unfortunately, that we do not appreciate what our Shaykh, the advice that our Shaykh Dawud Barakatuhu gives us, the wujud of our Shaykh Dawud Barakatuhu. And in the same way, my dear friends, whatever we've heard today from the various na'ibin of our Shaykh Dawud Barakatuhu, from Hazrat Yusuf Dawud Barakatuhu, and also from the directly from the Malfuzat of our Shaykh, the thing that we should go away from today is that we make sure that we make amal upon it. When we hear the Malfuzat of any of our mashayikh, especially our shaykh, at that time it has a big impact upon us. It has a big impact upon us. But my dear friends, especially those people who are traversing the path of suluk and who have some ta'alluq and they are based on the shaykh or Islamic ta'alluq of the shaykh, and the most important thing is to make amal upon what the shaykh says. That's the only time we will be able to reach the same place and position that our mashayikh have also reached. One simple example and I'll stop. And that is obviously many people have traveled from various different places to be here. And as Maulana Asif Sahib mentioned, that our coming and traveling so far is not to give any taqreer and bayan. If I stay in Dewsbury, I'll give bayan for longer. And even if I came in and Maulana didn't request me to give bayan, I would have been benefited just as much just being here alone. Just by being here alone, that would be so much benefit for us. And people who have traveled from as far as they have for this program today is through the faith and barakat of Maulana Ayub Sahib and because of the wasi of our Shaykh al-Barakatuh. Anyhow, all those who have traveled from far, majority of them must have had some form of sat-nav in the car. Some form of sat-nav in the car. And that sat-nav in it, you type in your destination, and that will then direct us to the destination. Now all we have to do is that everything is there. We don't have to look up the map, and we don't have to make any homework beforehand. All we have to do is sit in the car and follow the directions. We just have to listen and do what the sat-nav is telling us to do. And if we do so, we'll find that we'll come and reach right outside our house. It will reach us and take us directly to our destination. However, if there is somebody who has that at his disposal, something so easy for him, but while he's driving, when the sat-nav tells him, third at the next corner, third at the roundabout, and he said he feels to himself, instead of taking third, let me take a second turn. And when he says to him to turn left, second left, instead he takes the third left, tell me, will he reach his destination or not? He won't reach his destination. And when he does get lost, somebody will say, how foolish are you? You had the sat-nav there, and despite the sat-nav being able to take you to your destination, you still went off another route, how foolish you are. You had that there and so clear and so open to you. The same example is of our Shaykh al-Barakatuh, and Hazrat al-Barakatuh has so clearly shown us the path to wilayat, and how we, so inferior as we are, we can also become walis of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is our neglect that when it is so plain and clear to us, when our Shaykh al-Barakatuh, and Hazrat Allah Taaala can burger in Hazrat's life, brother, sometimes I make dua, Allah Taaala grant Hazrat 130 years of life with barakat in his life with health. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant me a life lesser than his. Our Shaykh's one nasiyat is, and that one nasiyat is very difficult. Very difficult. Our Shaykh's nasiyat is that as soon as a person's Shaykh passes away, a person should immediately appoint somebody else to be his Shaykh. This word without a Hazrat gives me sleepless night. It gives me sleepless night. To which I feel that rather than I leave this world before Hazrat al-Barakatuh, rather than having to make that decision at that time. Our Shaykh al-Barakatuh has made it so easy for us, and he has made it so clear for us, and the opportunity is there for each and every single one of us here to become a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that is only if we follow the directions as clearly mentioned to us, we will definitely reach that position and will become a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a person gets to Al-House Street, he'll say thanks to Tom Tom. He'll say thanks to the sat-nav. But if he gets lost, he'll curse the sat-nav. In the same way, we don't reach our destination, we curse the mashayikh. But the fault is ours that we didn't follow them. And when a person will reach a destination, the way then you salute the sat-nav for taking you so easy to your destination, it is only when a person will acquire and attain close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they will appreciate the mashayikh and they will appreciate the nasiyat of their shaykh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the ability to make amal upon whatever we have heard today. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the position of awliya siddiqeen. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ.